Champions! I got a few requests for a follow-up video on this Blues Junior. It took them ages to approve the quote. Sometimes you send a quote and they just sit on it. You don't hear a response for about a month. Or they tell you to hold off until they've got more cash or whatever. So anyway, this one got delayed a little bit, plus Easter happened, and I went away for a bit for that. So here's what I did. Let's start from the left, I found a fair bit more stuff in this than I initially suspected. Primarily a lot of damage to the bottom of the board from the previous hack. Changed the mains lead. It had a European one on there with a Aussie adapter, which seemed kind of dumb to me. So I just changed it out, put a new molded plug on there with safety pins. Put quick connects on there as per factory. That's the ground connection. So working our way over. There's cracked solder joints on the speaker jacks, so I touched them up. The mains fuse was 5 amps, which isn't good. It should be 1 amp. F1 AL. The mains wiring on the primary was wrong. So I forget, I wrote down somewhere how he wired it up, but it wasn't as per any of the factory configurations for any voltage. It was just incorrectly wired. I think one of the coils was shorted out. Yeah, so I just pulled everything out and reconnected it as it should be. I reckon that was blowing the mains fuse, so he just kept upping the mains fuse. Anyway, moving along, got a new quick connect on the plate connection there that was previously soldered to the terminal. I left the filter caps in because they're not currently leaking and there is negligible ripple. But yeah, they are known to go bad. These ones are still okay, but time will tell. That exceeded the budget to change them out as well. I changed out those ridiculous axial caps for some Nichicon radials, 105 degree. There's the sensibly sized bias cap. The one that was in there was quite comical. You can look it up if you want. Got some new bias divider resistors in there to cool the bias down. They're 24k each. Got the flyback diodes back in there, fast recovery. What else do we do? Screen grid upgrade to 1.5k to extend the life of the valves. Here's all the Panasonic caps, replacing those ridiculous orange drops that they had to bend the leads to make them fit, and they were flopping around and damaging traces from vibration and all sorts of stuff. The holes were drilled out in some cases to fit the massive leads in there. Just massive, like this thing. Like it's not a good size component for the circuit board. It just vibrates around because it is a combo amp. They just vibrate in time with the bass and eventually just either break the solder connection or snap a lead. Yeah, so most of them I just snipped them off so that the comically long leads that were on there to make them fit in the footprint aren't evident anymore. But yeah, some of them were made to fit, like 5mm lead spacing. It was pretty silly. And there's the old axial caps that were shorting out on the lid with their super great splicing there. The Weemers, someone got on forums here. They again had their leads bent to suit. They were the right value, but they were just too big. Like, they're going to break their solder connections because they're not mounted properly. They're supposed to see these little feet on the bottom of the casing there. They're supposed to be pushing against the board to mechanically support it, but when you bend the leads, they can't do that. So the thing just vibrates and breaks its solder connections. That looks to be an X-class cap, I think. Maybe not. 630. That's the bias cap that was being used. I had a closer look at the EL84s, and one of them had lost vacuum. The base had cracked. You probably might not be able to make that out there, but yeah, there's a little crack in the base there from being manhandled a bit too much. That's the 5 amp fuse. And I give all the parts back to the customer, so they can't accuse me of reselling things or whatever. I'll just say they got a record of what was changed. That jack initially I thought was fine, but when I went to put it back together, I noticed the mashed up thread there, so I put a new one on and new one of them on. What else was there? The reverb connection was broken. That one, the white one. So I moved the cable a bit further in, and then made another connection there. I think I touched up some solder connections on the main on the valve board, but now we've cooled that bias down. She shouldn't be getting as hot, so it'll probably last a lot longer. I think that was about it. But besides doing a few valve swaps, so one of the other 12AX7s, they all work, but one of them was a bit microphonic in the first position, so I flicked it over to the second position where that triode in this model is unused, and took the second valve out, put it in the first position. That was a lot quieter. Save them changing a valve as well, even though they're only 20 something bucks. Oh, and I changed the first stage bypass cap to a 4.7 mic to tighten up the bass a little bit. It's really boomy, these things. And when you push them in overdrive, they're just really flabby and farty, so I pulled that back a bit to tighten up the bass response in the first stage, and now it sounds a lot more usable overdrive. The transistor there, the traces were destroyed. I just put a new one in. That's the FET for the switching of the fat switch thing. All the tone stack caps are replaced with more sensible caps that actually fit on the board. Combination of V-Shaped ceramics and Panasonic films. And yeah, it's sounding good now. And hopefully no one opens this thing again unless they know what they're doing. Anyway, she lives again. Have a good one, champions.